So, here we are. I'm tempted to not just launch into this by gushing over the tale. So instead I'm just going to state some facts to get this review underway. Fact. ReBoot is an immensely creative show that's delivered some amazing stories. Fact. ReBoot literally invented a new medium of visual storytelling. Fact. ReBoot, despite how difficult it is, continues to balance humor, wit, action, and tension. And fact. Hexadecimal is terrifying.
Hexadecimal has broken into the archives. She has tampered with the system paint program and is currently running from an alias in her lair. She's also
destroyed the entire archive security system. You better get down here. It's really bad.
What about the guards?
The guards appear to have been kidnapped. Kidnapped by Hexadecimal. Ah!
Picture, if you will, an artist of great talent, unappreciated by those around her, unnoticed by the critics.
Painted Windows was written by Jono Howard and Susan Turner, with story by Gavin Blair, Phil Mitchell, Ian Pearson, Mark Schkeman, and Susan Turner. The main cast includes Michael Benier as Bob, Kathleen Barr as Dot, Matthew Sinclair as Enzo, Shirley Milner as Hexadecimal, Tony J as Megabyte, Michael Donovan as Fawn and Mike the TV, Phil Hayes in his final appearance as Hack, and Gary Chalk as Slash. So, this is a Hexadecimal story, the first since Medusa Bug, 14 episodes ago. And there's a very good reason Hexadecimal doesn't pop up all that often, because when she does launch a plan in motion, as much as she can plan, things go really bad, really fast. The episode opens with 3 guards standing around outside the archives, which I guess is them making a token effort against Megabyte, when Hex suddenly appears. We immediately flash to our main protagonists. Dot is leading a workout session in the park, Enzo is zipping around on his board, and Bob is cooing over the new bike he just bought to replace his antique car. Once again, this happy interlude can only mean that things will get bad. Suddenly, all of Mainframe becomes aware of a giant sun in the sky, having been drawn in with a paintbrush. Then, Bob gets a call from Fawn, as Dot gets a call from security at the same time. Hexadecimal runs rapid interchanges to Mainframe, and Megabyte finds himself as a victim.
You've destroyed my toy. I will get you for this.
Oh, but your sector was looking so dreary. I've simply cheered it up a little bit. There's no need to make such a long face about it.
Holy
moly!
As things ramp up, and Hexadecimal continues to terrorize the city by altering the shape and texture of everything. That might not sound horrible, but imagine the building you're in suddenly melting into Technicolor goo and tell me this isn't a scary premise. Bob gets the rundown of what must be done by Fawn. Fawn explains that there are 2 steps. The link made to the archive's paint program must be destroyed, and someone must go to Hex's lair and perform an undo command. And to make matters worse, Hexadecimal's Nightmare Realm will become permanent when the next system backup occurs, which is an amazing detail to link to the real world. Unfortunately, Hexadecimal uses an eraser function to remove Fawn's head and replace it with an apple. Yeah, that happens. Hexadecimal then says, "Now you really are the keeper of the core," which is actually really funny, and a joke that I would make. Damn it, ReBoot! Things go from bad to worse when all forms of communication and transportation melt into goo, including Glitch and Bob's new bike. Bob and Enzo discuss what to do, but just look at these amazing visuals.
She eliminated Fong and Megabyte first, then she took out communications and transport. It's almost like she's working to some sort of plan.
Hexadecimal? A plan? Dude.
Enzo, this is important. It's all up to you. You've got to get to Dot and tell her to break the link to Hex's lair.
No problem, Bob. Frisket will help me. Come on, boy.
Wait, Enzo. Don't do anything until you get my signal.
What's your signal?
I don't know yet, but you'll recognize it when you see it.
And the whole episode from here on out is like that. Every scene is this amazing feast for the eyes with the visual design. In the next scene, we switch to a park and find Mike the TV and a small film crew shooting a documentary about Hex's artwork. As one might expect, the scene is hilarious, but also continues to be surreal and unsettling. My favourite part is this replication of the Thinker, a famous statue, that moves every time he thinks someone's not looking at him and then resets his posture once he realises he's being seen. It's so adorable. Bob shows up, tells the crew to split, and drags Mike towards Hex's lair to help him. Meanwhile, Dot and Enzo meet up near the archives as they both find themselves on a wild ride down interweaving slides strung around the principal office. Oh, and the famous Adam touching God's hand painting has been painted over the main dome of the principal office. Wow. Frisket also gets shrunk down to the size of a mouse in a trippy scene of perspective shift, but Enzo and Dot reach the archives unharmed otherwise and find the doors have been blasted through effortlessly. Just in case you had forgotten that Hexadecimal is the most powerful being on the show. Meanwhile, Bob and Mike continue to approach Hex's lair.
Creepy. The artist appears to be fixated with his guardian image.
What do you mean by that?
It's our blue period! You get it?
I wish you'd stop doing that.
What?
You can see the light bulb go off in Bob's mind as he sees the cardboard copies, and he actually gets one made that resembles him holding up Mike's film camera. We will have to wait to see what all that's about, however. Bob simply turns to Mike and says, "We're ready." Back at the archives, we can see Hexadecimal has twisted and distorted the inners into a hellscape of rotating stars and dark imagery. Enzo mentions to Dot about Bob's signal, to which Dot sort of rolls her eyes, and Enzo hops in with gusto.
Come on, Dot! This way!
Enzo, wait! It's dangerous!
No way, sis. Just using Mike's steps. Whoa!
Mike and Bob finally make it to the outer perimeter of Hex's tower and see, in the distance, Scuzzy wandering around. They laugh at the idea of a little mouse-like creature being Hex's guard, until it closes in, and they see that it's grown to immense size, now easily able to chomp down on a bus. Horrified that Hex can enlarge objects as part of a new manipulation kit, Bob and Mike are chased around by this new horrifying Scuzzy. It even splits into two when the two characters split up. Meanwhile, back in the archives, Dot is horrified that Enzo has turned into a series of vid windows, which is just an insane concept. But to both of their delights, Enzo finds he can now manipulate vid windows and cause them to appear, which Dot uses to start the climb towards the paint command. Hexadecimal, meanwhile, spots Bob and Mike on her turf.
Now, Scuzzy. You know the Guardian is mine.
It is only her fondness and less than subtle attraction to the Guardian that assumably spares Bob from a gruesome fate here. He tells Hex that him and Mike are here to interview her, as she is a gifted artist living right in Mainframe. Hex, her ego stroked and clearly pleased to see Bob, teleports the two of them into her lair.
I hope Bob's doing better than us.
Don't worry, Enzo. Bob wouldn't have gone to meet Hexadecimal without a really good plan.
That's your whole plan?
Yep,
And neither of us are expected to survive?
that's right.
Well, that's not much of a plan, is it, Pilgrim?
Bob tells Mike to shove it and just do it, whatever this plan is. And in the next moment, Hexadecimal teleports in as well. Bob acts as a cameraman as Mike starts talking, but we can see, tucked in the back of Bob's belt, is one of those cardboard cutouts. Now I understand. As Hexadecimal starts talking about her art and herself, you can actually see a few portraits behind her, including a caricature drawing of Hex and Bob kissing. Risque. Hex asks for a close-up, and when Bob doesn't move, she blows it over with her telekinesis and discovers the ruse. She goes haywire and starts destroying furniture. Meanwhile, Bob is at the open vid window on the other side of the room, working on undoing all of her alterations to mainframe. Hexadecimal flies at him, and in a panic, he uses the paint program to cut her mask from her face. What follows is surreal and terrifying.
Guardian! You have removed the only thing that keeps her power in check. Without the masks, Hexadecimal will overload and be destroyed. Down, you fool!
I'm going to need a moment. I have no quips for this part, as I've never seen anything like it. I have watched the reboot dozens of times, and the last 3 minutes of Painted Windows still gets me every time. Since Bob has undone Hex's damage, we see mainframe slowly return to normal, but it also means Enzo's vid window power is ending, and Dot picks up the pace to reach the original file and break the link. Dot doesn't quite make it, but Frisket, back to normal, grabs her and jumps her the rest of the way. With glitch restored, Bob does what he can to reverse the damage he has done to Hexadecimal. Again, this scene is haunting.
Glitch! Close fire! Glitch! Cut and paste!
The eerie silence of the moment shifts to the triumphant Guardian motif, as Bob contacts Dot and Enzo at the principal office and informs them that all is right in the world. Well, as right as it possibly could be at Los Angeles. He mentions that he has left Hexadecimal, now catatonic, in the capable hands of Mike the TV. And without further ado, I present the scariest scene in any animated show.
It's the Love Hospital! And you can receive this wonderful product for only $99.99.99. No, Mother! What have you done? It's coming this way! It's horrible!
Painted Windows is what happens when something is just really, really good. How many TV episodes can you think of that perfectly balance wit, humor, action, tension, and horror? Well, this is one. You'll look on in wonder. You'll laugh. And you'll shiver. That's what a game-changing narrative can do. My system only goes up to 3 hats. But if it went above that, Painted Windows would get them all.